Hello, everybody, and welcome to Drexel University's Charles D. Close School of Entrepreneurship. And today we are presenting to you Black Entrepreneurs in Action. This is the first of a three-part diversity and entrepreneurship panel discussion series. And I'm really honored and excited to be here with you today. My name is Roger Lee, and I'm an adjunct professor and program manager at Drexel University's Charles D. Close School of Entrepreneurship. And we are unique. We are teaching people how to be starters, how to be innovative in today's world. And part of that is answering the call to social justice. So I would like to take a moment to thank our founding dean, Dr. Donna DeCarolis, for making this possible. Thank you for your support of this program. Also, Antonis Esprakis, thank you for being here and helping me with the tech today. And we have Ms. Sharday Johnson, who is the director of Drexel University's new Black Cultural Center. It's going to be amazing. I know we're launching in the very near future, so thank you, Sharday. And there's so many others I could thank. Kim Galston, our Chief Diversity Officer and Vice President of Human Resources. We really appreciate you. Thank you for your support. And Ms. Patience Edgeoff, thank you for being an Executive Director of Diversity and Inclusion. We just appreciate all that you do. And I would love to introduce our panelists for the day. They are wonderful. We have Mr. Shane D. Nelson. And Shane is a co-founder of Reify Solutions, LLC, an amazing business. And he runs that with his wife. He also works for a community college in Philadelphia as a support coach for male engagement. So thank you so much for being here today, Shane.
Happy to be here.
Of course. And we also have Ms. Valerie Gay. And I'm so excited that you're here as well. Valerie is the founder of many organizations. She does a lot of work in the arts and culture space. She works at the Barnes Foundation, and she's in senior leadership there. And she is also the co-founder of Davis Gay and Associates. So thank you very much, Val, for being here with us today.
That was my pleasure, Roger. Thank you, and hi, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, again. And for everyone who's here, I'm just seeing the numbers go up. We're 45 strong, so thank you for being a part of this powerful event today. I would love to just start by taking a moment of silence. I want to take a moment of silence for George Floyd, for Breonna Taylor, and all of the Black lives that have been lost to senseless violence and hatred. Great. Thank you guys for doing that. And I think it'll set the foundation and the tone for what we're talking about today, Black Entrepreneurs in Action. So let's jump right into our discussion. I'd love to start with Val. Val, if you could just take a moment to tell folks about your entrepreneurial journey and your current venture.
Sure. So hi, everyone. I am a serial entrepreneur. I didn't really embrace that title or really understand that's what I was doing until a couple of years ago. But I think my entrepreneurial journey actually started when I was just a trust officer at PNC Advisors many years ago. I created a platform within the organization that trained and served as a CRM for all of Philadelphia, Southern New Jersey market in PNC Advisors, about 600 employees, and all of our clients. We're in wealth management, and so, folks who had at least $1 million in investable assets. And it was just something I saw that there was a problem. Primarily the problem was I was facing the problem, and I was like, I think there are other people that are facing the same problem. Somebody should do something. And I realized, oh, that someone is me. And that's what started my journey, if you will. That then went on to create another program within the organization that was also very helpful. It provided financial services, an integrated way to create financial services opportunities for marginalized communities, including African American or Black, Latinx, Asian, as well as the LGBTQIA community. And so we didn't have anything like that before. So it incorporated treasury management, for example, as well as wealth management and everything in between, business banking, everything in between. It was later someone said to me, you think like an entrepreneur. And I was like, what are you talking about? No, I don't. I just do. But my father, my uncles, they're all entrepreneurs. So subsequently, from starting a nonprofit in 2006 until just recently during COVID, launching yet another company I'm just very grateful for the opportunity to explore ideas that I have, to monetize ideas, to monetize my passions, and then at the same time still get to do other things, including during this time period, I've been a wealth manager. I worked in academia. I was an assistant dean in the College of Ed at Temple University. I ran fundraising there and alumni affairs. I ran a nonprofit art sanctuary for several years, and now I'm the chief experience officer at the Barnes Foundation. So I'm proof that you can actually do both, but you need a team. That's it. Thanks.
Wow, that's incredible. I love that you cover the gamut of disciplines and industries, and it's amazing. I also love that you're a real champion and an advocate for the entrepreneur, the person who is being entrepreneurial within the workspace and looking at existing structures. I think that's incredible.
Thank you
for sharing that. And Shane, we'd love to hear about your entrepreneurial journey and what you're currently working on.
Yeah, so my journey really started when I knew I could sell toys in 4th grade. So I had some extra toys. I didn't want to throw them out. We couldn't make our way to the Salvation Army to like donate them, but I had a couple friends that I would meet up with in the morning, and I was just like, hey, would you guys buy any of this stuff? I think I made like $60. And in 4th grade, $60, I mean, I'm a unicorn at that point. That's a startup right there. And from there, fast forward, I didn't really get too entrepreneurial in high school, but in college, I really learned the power of social entrepreneurship. So as a proud Drexel alum, you probably saw me between 2012 and 2016, just finding different ways to channel the campus's resources into going into different multicultural organizations on campus. So once I was the president of the Alphas on campus, I found out different ways for us to partner with the different LGBTQIA centers on campus, the different diversity centers on campus, because I knew they had a budget and I knew that they were the subject matter experts. You weren't gonna have a bunch of guys talk about LGBTQIA issues. We haven't experienced it, right? But we're still gonna put that on because that's still in our platform of advocacy. So from there, I moved to upstate New York into a higher ed master's program at Syracuse University. And it was all pretty much like presentations and facilitations in all of my practicum experiences. And I got tapped to start doing some diversity consulting work from a classmate of mine. They saw how I was facilitating and breaking things down. And so I knew that at some point that was going to be a road for me. So when I came back home to Philly and I was still looking for employment, I had a mentor pour into me and say, you know, hey, Shane, can you create a proof of concept for us? I have this idea for a space. You know, can you do a lot of research about the programming and I'll pay you for your report? And I was like, yes, this is exactly why I got an extra degree. This is perfect. And then that fall in 2019, I started a business with my wife where we help organizations with training and development. And development is really around fundraising. So my wife's a professional fundraiser, and I really fill the people element of organizations. And just recently, we found our niche within diversity, equity, and inclusion work. So we really stick to the year-long process. So full organizational change, full policy change, and it's been incredible. And so that's what I'm working on from the entrepreneur side. I'm also an entrepreneur like Val, where I started a career achievement program for some of our guys in the Center for Male Engagement. So we took a look at the current landscape for Philadelphia's small businesses. About 2 to 4% are Black owned, depending on what data you look like. And everybody's been impacted by the current pandemic. And so we figured out a way to train students to get remote skills to actually serve those businesses, whether in Philly or around the globe. And so we still have 3 students that have stayed on from the summer who have helped out with different tech companies who made it to the Shade Room, different local nonprofits like Achievability. And then my guy, Ty, I always have to give him his shout out because he's working on his couch in Philly for a nonprofit in LA that actually is helping fight the wildfires now. So I've been able to see it kind of go from so many different angles, and it's just a rare opportunity to have, you know, so much responsibility and autonomy and people to say, you know what, this might work, and just letting me run with it.
I love so much about your story, Shane. I love that you're working with others. You've always been so great about that and doing the social entrepreneurship thing. But also, you're taking it back to the community, and you're doing that through CCP and beyond. So, very inspiring for sure. I love it. So, I want to jump into our next question, and this is a twofold question. I would love for each of you to talk about the main challenge that you have faced or are currently facing in your entrepreneurial journey, and then what do you think is the biggest challenge that Black entrepreneurs are facing? And it should be a unique challenge just for Black entrepreneurs. Let's start with Val.
Sure. So let me do the last question first, if that's okay.
Sure.
To stay heavy on my mind. I think that the challenge that Black entrepreneurs are really facing, and we see it across multiple sectors. I also mentioned that I am as an entrepreneur. I didn't say that, but I'm an artist. I'm actually a trained opera singer. All of my degrees are in music. And so we see it in the arts, we see it in nonprofit areas, we see it in every sector, including this entrepreneurial space, which is the lack of systemic capitalization. And so the flip side to say that is one of the biggest challenges that Black entrepreneurs face is actually systemic racism and the inability to get the same kind of access to capital and other resources, not just financial, but it could also be other types of resources, capacity building that other folks may get naturally or have opportunities to get. And so just today, in the Philadelphia Tribune, I was just reading the U.S. Black Chambers, Inc. President says that Philadelphia Black-owned businesses need help. And the article talks about the fact that there is a lack of access to capital. And there's also a lack of financial literacy. Sometimes, and I know we see it in the nonprofit area, that folks will see that there is a problem. I said it earlier. I looked around, I was like, somebody should do that. And I realized, oh, that somebody is me. And almost every time I've started something, it was a problem. I looked around, tried to find a solution from somebody else, realized there was no other solution. So I had to do it. In my mind, I was like, I got to do this. And so I think that if we could figure out a way as a society to better equip our entrepreneurs, whether it's educationally, like to provide for the close school is amazing to provide these opportunities for folks to learn, to grow, to be in communities. The incubation that you do is just really incredible. That I think is one of the biggest challenges, but also I see light in that we're able to talk about it openly without people getting upset or whatever, but just to understand that, okay, here's where we were. Here's where we started from, here's where we are, and here's where we can go with some actual assistance, right? And so, how can we come together to do this? For me, as an entrepreneur, the challenges I've been facing have been both access to capital, but then actually capacity. So the latest venture I started is called Soulful Affirmations, and it provides what we do. My partner and I, we actually through a platform provide assessments to people who are, feeling stuck in their lives. And from that assessment, we help to develop customized affirmations for them that they can either say to themselves or they could hear a recording. I then have also composed music that goes underneath that support these affirmations. And then finally, there's something called solfeggio frequencies, which is scientifically based tones that can actually alter one's DNA to get you to where you want to be. So if I'm feeling really low because I'm concerned about my health, for example, I can hear myself saying back to me, I am healthy and strong, with music that is absolutely supporting that. And again, there's scientific proof about how these oral frequencies can actually change our DNA. And so I started with a focus group. I sent it out to a couple people or to several people thinking that maybe I would get, a 10% return. We wanted to just have like a focus group of 10 folks. 25 people responded. It's like, okay, great. And so that was great. So we started working with them. And then I was chatting with someone, and the next thing I knew, I had 10 sales before I launched. And it's been growing. So we're running quickly to get in front of it so that the train doesn't go too far down the tracks.
Well, that's a great problem to have. I mean, it's every entrepreneur's dream, right? It's too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wonderful. I love what you said too, though, about a challenge that's facing the African-American community, especially our community of entrepreneurs, is really access to capital and other resources. So back and say the mentoring, and, you know, like you said, education access, so much goes into that. But, and Shane, what do you feel about this?
So I'll follow Val's lead, and I'll start with the issues impacting Black entrepreneurs. And she's laid it out all well. I think the only piece that I can really add is the current climate for us just existing as Black people. So to kind of live your life risking just going outside, and then, you know, having the wherewithal to risk starting a new venture, a new idea. I think that's another threat that people don't realize, because at the end of the day, I'll walk down the street, or I was recently participating in a virtual 5K. And so I was just jogging around my neighborhood because I live in Strawberry Mansion. But no one saw a board member, no one saw an entrepreneur. They just saw a Black man running. And so I had to like turn my AirPods down and make sure if I heard a siren just to walk, because I don't want to fit any description. The second I throw on some sneakers, I'm 6'1" with a beard. And so I think that's a key piece that, you know, really threatens Black entrepreneurship really thriving outside of access to capital in the form of like actual capital or social capital, access to just different opportunities. It's just the idea that like you're living, and your process of living is a complete risk to you. So just persisting on is a lot. I would say that in my own life as an entrepreneur, the biggest challenge that I've had to face is definitely capacity and burnout. I'm one of those people where if I can take it on, I will. And having a team with me now, right, having, you know, a partner in not only business and in life really helped check me to figure out, okay, like this is something you can take on, or this is something you can't take on. So the fact that, you know, year-long consulting contracts have a higher price tag, you know, should entice me and motivate me to get more. However, I have to deliver for my clients month after month, day after day, and across an entire year. So I'm basically just picking up jobs, right? So it's one of these things where I can't work 5 and 6 jobs. I can do 3 really well. So I'm going to stick to that, and I'm going to make sure I measure expectations. And so that's what comes to mind around challenges.
Wow, it's really awesome. You guys do have the same challenge essentially, right? It is around capacity and streamlining your time, and I could totally relate to that too. You have a lot of ideas, a lot of passion, a lot of energy, a lot of people want to work with you, but like you said, how do you pick the time and the projects that make sense for you and give you a personal ROI? You know, you want to feel fulfilled. And all that. But Shane, something you said really resonated with me too, though. It's just, you know, in today's climate, you know, even outside of entrepreneurship, you know, you need to be yourself, and you need to be safe above all. Right? If we're not here, we can't be entrepreneurs. So be in a safe space, right? You got to be able to just survive day to day. And I think that is a really unique challenge, you know, for Black entrepreneurs today in 2020. It really is. I also would piggyback on that and say perception, right? I think with Black entrepreneurs, we have an issue with how we're perceived, right? It doesn't matter if you have a 5-star restaurant or you have a small corner store. A lot of times when people see Black owned, it has a certain perception to it. And a lot of times people think that it's unprofessional, it's not well equipped. And that's a lot to contend with, right? You're doing an amazing job, but how do you battle that perception all the time on an everyday basis, really? So I would add that that's a really unique challenge, especially in our own community. You know, that's your target audience, and you're trying to get your community on board. It can be really rough sometimes. So. And this is great. Awesome. Well, I want to ask you guys a few more things with our time. This is getting really good. I wanted to ask you, what would you say all entrepreneurs, right, all genders, nationalities, all entrepreneurs, what can they do to help in the fight to end systemic racism against Black people?
Who's going first?
You go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, I have to go first, right? So, all right, that's fair. I'll take the deep one. I think that all entrepreneurs have the power and ability to solve systemic racism, because our current political system and our current global capitalist setup responds to capital. So if you align your practices from a kind of 360 perspective, from a comprehensive lens, to say, okay, how am I ridding, points of implicit bias? How am I ridding points of colorism? How am I removing all of these aspects of systemic racism in my practice? All of a sudden, you become that new example within your current competition base. So if you are a department store, or if you're doing drop shipping, right? How are you making sure that you're sourcing from different Black-owned companies and consumers? If you're an ed tech firm, how are you highlighting the stories of Black individuals and helping expand that narrative? Because Black History Month is year round, right? And then I think too, it's going to the different folks within your setup, whether it be chambers of commerce or those other political spaces that your business ends up residing in, because entrepreneurship is a form of activism in my mind, and holding people to task. Look, I will fund your competitor if you do not meet this policy decision, because it goes on all around us all the time already, right? Mm-hmm. There are so many different campaigns that are being driven to keep people from voting, or to keep specifically marginalized groups down or away from the polls. And so it's up to entrepreneurs from these different communities to rise up and say, you know what, look, my capital is going to match your capital, or my idea is going to outpace your idea. And then it's building that advocacy and those cross-cultural coalitions as well, to make it more broad and more comprehensive, to really end it. But again, money responds to money. And so that's the real deal of it. So if you are listening to this and you have that like billionaire idea, you have to sit there, one, make sure that proof of concept is there, get whatever you need to get, but then figure out a way to build a coalition of folks to tackle this issue. And Dr. Johnson quoted me as entrepreneurship as a form of activism. I actually borrowed that from the president and CEO of Word Radio. So we always have to cite Black women. I'm not taking that credit, Dr. Johnson. I appreciate you, though.
I love that, Shane. And Val, how do you feel about this?
Well, I love that. Sarah Lomax Reese is a friend of mine, so I'm glad that you gave that credit to her. And it is true, entrepreneurship as activism. I think everything, I agree absolutely with everything that Shane said. And I think also that, what we know in every other aspect of our lives, that anything that we want to do differently, anything that we want to grow or invest in, it takes intentionality. It takes sometimes a little sacrifice, and sometimes it takes a little work. But anything that we put our attention to, our focus to, our energy to, we can absolutely do it. And so the intentionality around buying Black, for example, we all could, say, 5% of everything that I buy. If I'm a non-Black person, if I'm a Black person, I would say 85% or 90% of what I buy goes to a Black entrepreneur first. If I look for that first. If I can't find someone, then I will find the best person outside of my own culture first. But if I'm not in that culture, for example, I would say, we say 5 or 10% of your purchasing dollars, if you intentionally seek out a Black entrepreneur, if you're going to go out to eat, or you're going to order in, try Black and Mobile versus Uber Eats, for example. And the reason is because we know that you can really go right into a Black community. And that intentionality, I actually think, can work. And I think what it also does is opens us up to a wider world of opportunities and experiences that we might not otherwise have. And so I do believe so firmly that we can actually change the trajectory of where we have been and where we're going. Actually, the trajectory of where we're going, we right now can actually change that trajectory. Mm-hmm. Right now, without that intentionality, where we're going right now is much of what we've had in the past. And so right now we can absolutely change it if we are intentional about our dollars and our own individual power.
I love this. While we're all talking about money, I completely agree. Money is a powerful tool, and what we do with it is even more powerful. So I would say for all sorts of entrepreneurs, kind of like what Val said, right? Invest in communities, and whether it's a Black-owned business or a Black school, right? There are many different ways that you can invest, but I would say just invest in Black communities in general because it matters, right? If a school is receiving more funding from your organization, your business, there's the next generation of entrepreneurs that can rise up out of that, but they need adequate funding, they need great teachers, they need school books, right? They need air that doesn't have asbestos in it, and they need COVID compliant environments to learn in. So let's get back at the ground floor level, because the kids are the future, they really are. So I would say start there for sure. Also, it helps to diversify your organizations. I can't stress that enough. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs, and they have great ideas, but their boards aren't diverse, their staffs aren't diverse. Nothing about their organization is racially diverse, and it matters a lot. Representation is huge. Right? So take a chance, hire a Black senior exec, right? Bring in a specialist that doesn't look like you, because it really will make your organization richer, and it sends out a message to the public that we get it, we care, we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we are investing in Black people. So if you're doing it at the school level and then at the professional level with leadership, I think things will have to get better, and I totally agree with Val. We can do it, right? If we can create an organization, if we can take it from our mind and put it on paper and create revenue and jobs and opportunities, then we can tackle this. It's not impossible, but like Val said, it starts with intentionality for sure. Well, this is awesome. I love it, love it. And I just wanted to end today with each of you kind of giving yourself a love note, right? If you're talking to yourself at 15 years old, what would you say to a young Black entrepreneur to encourage them to keep going?
Oh, man, 15-year-old Shane, I think 15-year-old Shane just had his like bike stolen too. So like, this is like coming at the perfect time, Roger. What I would tell the 15-year-old Shane is get used to being different, take time to meditate, and understand that you just have to read a little bit more. I think that one of the things that I wish I did at 15 was, stop following so many different trends. Because I think that it could have exposed me to more entrepreneurial ventures or trying new things a lot sooner. I think with the breathing and meditation, had I learned self-care at an earlier age, I, would be a lot more proficient in it now, and probably would stay at top of mind more. Usually I'm like just kind of working. So I'm going to take a break after this call is done and, breathe and meditate for sure. And then just getting exposed to reading again. I think that I, caught the reading bug again in undergrad, and I haven't looked back since, but in all of the stuff that I learned, if I started reading different books sooner, I could have changed my trajectory. And I'm still changing my trajectory now, but I think those are the three pieces that I would give 15-year-old Shane. And maybe a hug too. Everybody needs a hug.
Yeah, we all need that now. I love it. It's wonderful. And Val?
Yeah. Sure. Shane, it sounds like Shane was talking to me when I was 15. I love all that advice. And I would also say, particularly about being different, the very things, and we see this over and over again, we all probably can relate to this, that the very thing that makes us different and makes us stand out from everybody else is often that thing we hate the most, or that we feel the most uncomfortable around, particularly at 15 or the teenagers, because you want to fit in and you don't want to be different. And that very thing is usually the distinguishing factor to your greatness, and that's the thing that makes you unique and that you can contribute to the world. And so I would say to 15-year-old Val, like, don't be afraid, or it's okay. Actually, not don't be afraid. It's okay to be afraid, but it's not okay to dim your light, and it's not okay to allow other people's fear stop you from trying something else. And so At 16, I was at Girls High. I went to Girls High, and I heard Dr. Connie Clayton say something. She came into our what do you call it? The assembly where like alumni come back. It's kind of like, the parents, what is it called when you come in and you show the kids what you do for a living, that thing, whatever that is, career day.
Yes.
Sorry, it took a second. And she said, as long as you have a solid educational foundation, and that goes back to what you were saying, Shane, as long as you have that, you can do anything. You can go anywhere. And many of you will have 5 or 6 different careers, and it'll be okay. And that changed my life. That quote changed my life. And I'm so grateful that she's a friend of mine now. And I got to tell her how that day, I remember what I was wearing. I remember where I was sitting when she said it, because that piece is that you get the foundation, which is exactly what Shane was talking about. And then you add your special sauce to it, then you really can change the world. And the world may be just a 12 by 12 square that you stand on. But if I change the square that I'm on and make it better, and Roger, you change the square, and Cassandra, who's my cousin, who's on here, changes her square, and Donna changes her square, we can knit all of our squares together to have a better world that will benefit all of us. And so I would tell myself, my 15-year-old self, that.
Well, these are universal truths. I think we all can really embrace that and learn from it. If we all go back, we probably do it the same way. So,
yeah.
This is amazing. Well, I just wanted to wrap up today because it was amazing what we talked about, and it was so insightful. What really resonates the most with me is that there's a spirit of hope in here. Right? I love just looking around and seeing people from all walks of life, and everybody's so into it, and we're all here for the same reason, the same purpose, and it's beautiful. I think as a model for the rest of the world to really look at and live by, So we just encourage every single person on this call today to kind of let what you hear today sink into your spirit, and then take it out into your world, like Valerie said, because you all have more influence than you realize. Right? It might be your church, it might be your neighborhood, it could be your work environment, but kind of go into your environment and be a change maker, right? Stand up when you see injustice happening, take a stand, be that person, because more people will rally behind you. And like Val said, I think if we all kind of take over our piece of the pie will be a lot tastier for everybody in the end. Also, this was just such a great celebration of Black entrepreneurship. I think this was a really great way to shed light on some of the amazing, impactful things that you're all doing, and hopefully inspire a new generation to keep carrying on the torch, because we can't do it forever. We're all here on limited time. So that's my whole mission today too, is to really inspire some young Black entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all shades to really change their world for the better. So I would love to thank Val again for being here. Shane, this is really something special, and just can't thank you enough.
Thank you, my pleasure. Dr.
Thank
Don.
you so much.
Yes, I was say Dr. Donna put in the chat, and entrepreneurship education empowers everyone. And that's the close school tagline. What a great tagline. Dang it, I wish I had thought it first.
Right.
Great tagline.
That's a quick shirt.
Well, we got a new venture from our panel.
Right?
We gotta figure this out, especially with the affirmations. We definitely have to check in. Well, I want to bring you over to CCP somehow, so our guys need it.
Absolutely, awesome. Thank you. That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us. That will conclude our formal panel discussion, but we're actually going to have the opportunity to network. So we are going to stay on this call, the panelists and I, and feel free to pick our brains, and we look forward to doing that. So take care. Have a great night. God bless you all.
Thank you, everybody.